and welcome back to the Rise Factor. I am extremely grateful today to have the amazing Kelley joining us from Victoria, Geelong on Conversations for Growth. Thank you so much, Kelley, for joining me today.
Thanks for having me.
I love the pink background because we've got some things that we're going to be talking about today, and that just goes to show with your branding. But for those that don't know you, who's Kelley?
I mean, apart from work, which is what I think everyone knows about me, outside of work, I just love to travel, spend time with friends and family, catch up on some sleep when I can, and just trying to live my life kind of away from work as well. And that's something that a lot of BDMs and property managers struggle with. So yeah, just trying to get more out there.
Yeah, and you've definitely done so well this year at doing that. So, Kelley, I want to start from the beginning. Why real estate?
It's so funny. I actually started, like, my first job was in a reception, and it was simply because I had a friend that worked at an agency and they needed a receptionist, and I decided to join and get out of that retail life. So once I started working there, yeah, that's not something I actually chose. I just kind of got put into it, and all this time later, here I am.
Yeah. So you've had phenomenal growth, and I guess I want to go and explore because you've got a very impressive portfolio. So you started from zero.
Yeah.
Now you've got 1,500 properties across 5 offices in 5 years, which is really impressive. So what was the vision back then, and what's the vision now?
I think back then when we first opened our office, our vision was to get to 100 properties.
Mm,
And if you stalk through my Instagram, you'll find a cute little picture of me holding some 100 balloons and being so excited.
mm,
I think my business partner and I didn't realize we'd get to this point. It's one of those things, obviously, you dream of and you work towards, but not so quickly we realize it would happen.
mm.
We opened our office 1 week before COVID started.
Wow.
So we pretty much had to shut down, and we were from Melbourne at that time as well, so we couldn't actually come into Geelong because they had the Ring of Steel
Mm,
down this way. So that was definitely an interesting time. But then, yeah, over 5 years, we've, through organic growth and rent roll purchases, we've managed to now get to this point. We've recently just rebranded. So we did go from a corporate franchise now to a more local business that now we own those 5 offices.
mhm.
So yeah, it's
And
big.
yes, big growth. And what's the vision now? So we've had phenomenal growth, doing some acquisitions and organic, rebranded. So now, how's that vision changed from, looking back at 5 years ago to what you've created and then going forward?
I think now it's obviously we are still wanting to grow, but it's kind of focusing on the resources that we do have now. And we have some great staff, within the property management team and sales team. So it's just trying to elevate them even more, and see where we can go with that. We are kind of focusing more on natural growth now, not more so purchases.
Yeah.
But you never know. If any of you know my business partner, he loves to buy a rent roll. So
So I would love to explore, what was your biggest challenge if you look back over the last 5 years?
I think for myself, my biggest challenge was coming from not having as much experience. I've worked in 2 other agencies before, and the previous agency, I got dropped into being a property manager. So it was very just training on the job. And I was only there for 9 months. So then, my business partner is a friend of mine, and he said, I'm opening up here in Geelong. Do you want to come across? And I thought, okay, you know what? I have nothing to lose, so why not? So I've come down here, and not having, that full experience of someone to kind of open an office and try and grow a rent roll
Mm,
is insane.
yeah.
Now I think back at it because I was like, it's just really, yeah, just going off of each other really to try and build the business.
Yeah. So what was your motivator to grow the business if we look back at that challenge and everything was all new to you? What was the motivator to get to where you are now?
I think I've always been motivated to have my own business. I just never knew what I wanted to do. I
Mm,
had all these ideas back then that, I'd have like a candle business and all those kind of phases you got kind of go through.
yeah.
And then it just kind of fell into my lap, and I just went from there. I think also coming from, having a family that do have a small business themselves, it's always been instilled in me to work hard. Um, yeah, it's just, I don't know. When I reflect back on it, I'm like, it's just insane.
Yeah, it is. It's actually insane. So talk us through to the approach for growth, right? Because there's a bit happening that's happened in the last 5 years. So whether it was your approach to organic or through acquisitions, like can you talk us through what that looked like?
Yeah, so we definitely started off being organic because obviously during COVID, it was obviously a bit of a tough time, so we did want to grow organically. I think we got to about 200 rental properties, and then after that time, then just the rent roll started to come up, and there started to be quite a few in Geelong because there's a lot of smaller agencies here that decided to sell up. So I'd probably say after that time, I think we've purchased about 5 rent rolls now.
No.
Um, so we've done all of that, and then now because we're at that point where we're very stable, that we
Mm.
can do organic growth.
Yeah.
Not saying never say never to buy more rent rolls, but
Mm.
yeah, it's more focusing on the organic growth now.
Great. And getting to 200, because I mean, that's a great milestone in itself just to get to 200 alone. So, how did you guys get to that point organically before you started those acquisitions?
It was hard, I'll be honest, it was really hard. And I think not having that experience or kind of any support or anything like that beforehand, it was just me winging it and following people on social media that in the same role as me and seeing what they were doing.
Mhm.
Majority of it was referrals.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say like our marketing was at that point. I wasn't doing a lot of marketing or social media. It was, yeah, primarily clients we already had and referring to us and builders and stuff as well.
Yeah. And now, so you have done the Rise program because you're like, yeah, we want to know we're in the organic growth. So what does it look like now going forward for you and the businesses? Because we've like, you rebranded, you've got some more skills under your belt now, some more strategy. So what will be your primary focus over the next 12 months?
Definitely the organic growth. I actually generally noticed a difference in myself since doing the Rise program. And I think I am thinking a lot differently as well.
Mm,
But I think that was because I've never had that kind of training. With a lot of corporate companies, they don't really have that.
mm,
So doing something a little bit external, I don't know, it just helped me so much. And just things I wouldn't have thought about before and kind of putting me into that mindset.
yeah.
So in terms of our growth, we do have another BDM that's about to start in one of our other offices. So she's pretty much the same person as me and
Yeah.
does look after a team as well. So she'll be joining me and working together. And then we do have, a virtual BDM as well that we are currently using. So
Yeah, awesome.
yeah.
And from external, some things I've seen you doing is you've been doing more videos. I'm getting really clear on your branding, which is impressive, like showcasing the team and your culture, which is phenomenal. I know that you've been networking more and building more referral partners. Website revamp as well, which a lot of businesses don't like talk about, and they just go, "Oh, let's do a pretty website." But you've actually spending some time and looking at how you can create that into getting more leads. So there's a lot happening behind the scenes that people don't see, and I can see it and hear it because I've been fortunate enough to work with you. Would love to, for any BDMs listening, and because we've got to look at the BDM two parts, right? Because you've got a lot of opportunities with 1,500 properties under management, and looking back, getting to that 200, knowing what you know now, if you were to go back at that 200 point and you're a BDM that's wanting to grow organically, what would be, I guess, your main advice to them in growing a business, knowing what you know now?
Yeah, I think back then, if I could go back, I would definitely focus more on the sales team and being more into that because at that time I wasn't, going to the open for inspections, having more marketing, kind of just being more into the sales team. We weren't a big sales team back then, but it was obviously better than nothing.
Mm,
And my social media as well. It's insane how many people like that actually will respond to me. And I get a lot of traction on, especially LinkedIn as well.
mm.
And I've actually started adding clients of ours on LinkedIn, so then that way they're seeing it, and because they are big investors and stuff like that, they'll be like, "Oh, this is what the team's doing." Trying to get videos of it, like you said, with our team as well. Some don't like it so much, so
Yeah.
I do have to kind of force them into it. But I think definitely looking into your sales team, if you do have one. If you don't have a sales team, there are so many agencies around that are just sales based as well, that they don't have property management. You'd be surprised how many are around in your area that you could
Yeah,
reach out to.
for sure. And then, okay, so we've got utilizing the sales team, putting ourselves out there, making the most of the connections that we've got. Now, fast forward, we're at 1,500 properties. Would that still be your same strategy, or now having the 1,500, would your strategy be different?
I think our strategy is probably a bit more aggressive
Mm,
because our next goal would be to get to 2,000 and so on.
yeah.
You know, I just don't think there's not an endless number of how many properties under management we could have. You know,
Mm,
Geelong is a very big area. Our team, like our Geelong office, we do service the west of Melbourne as well. So we have a few staff members that live there, so we're able to service a lot more.
mhm.
I don't think we would stop. I just think we're actually a lot more aggressive. And it was interesting because we were talking about this, and a lot of agencies will think having one BDM is all you need,
Mm,
but no one really thinks about, we can actually have two or three or four.
yeah.
Why wouldn't you? So you can grow more.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And that's the approach that you've had. You've got another, onshore, and then you mentioned, was it virtual BDM as well? Yeah.
Yeah, we're testing that at the moment. And even in our office, like I'm trying to assist one of our property managers with BDM work. So he's, doing some assistant work with us as well, so that
Mm,
he will eventually grow into that role.
yeah, that's great. And I think when we're looking at organic growth, I believe that everyone in the office is responsible for that organic growth. So the more that you can get the whole team into that mindset of looking at the opportunities within, like we, through the program, we go, okay, well, it's not just 1,500 properties. If you times that by on average four, that's how many people that your whole team are talking to, on a daily basis, which is pretty phenomenal when you then go, okay, there's endless amounts of opportunity within your departments. I think that's really
Yeah.
great that you're instilling that within your team. I want to touch base on acquisitions because you said you've done 5 acquisitions now. What are some red flags and some green flags on when looking at acquisitions? Because right now I've seen like there's so much talk about rent rolls, and I've seen like there's quite a few rent rolls up for sale at the moment. So I would love to know from you who's actually done it, what would be a good like things to look out for and things to avoid or red flags.
Yeah, it's very interesting. And I think once you've done it once, that every single time we've learned something from that.
Mm,
Probably the red flags is trust your gut. Is if you are purchasing, you're doing that due diligence at that time. There was a rent roll that we were considering purchasing and meeting with the owners, and I got a bit of a off vibe. Like I just didn't think there was something right about it. My business partner also thought the same. We decided not to kind of go for it. And what the information we had thought about now, probably a year later, has actually come true.
mm,
And now we're seeing it and we're like, it's actually a blessing that we did not take that rent roll. Um, and it's also having a good relationship with the vendor as well. Like if you don't have a good relationship with them, 'cause at the end of the day, you have your period of where you're losing properties. So you want to make sure you're retaining properties for yourself, but also for them because then they're making money. So
yeah.
yeah, that's what
Yeah.
I'd look out for. Definitely due diligence as well. While it might be a pain to go through every single property, you would be surprised what you would find. And then that way it allows you to negotiate as well, in your pricing.
Yeah. Do you do the due diligence yourself, or do you get an external party to do it?
We crazy enough did it ourselves. There
Would
are
you
companies
hire
that do it
someone?
though.
Would you hire someone now to do it, or would you still do it yourself?
It depends on how many properties, I think.
Mm,
I like going in and looking at it because I like to find the bad things so that I know what's kind of wrong.
yeah.
If there is wrong, look, no rent roll is ever perfect. You're never going to find a perfect one, but at least so I don't know, maybe that's just because I'm protective over everything and I like to know everything.
Yeah.
But there's just, certain things that I would look at and, in terms of bonds and obviously now compliance and all that kind of stuff as well.
Yeah.
Um,
So what do you think of the main, so if you were looking at buying another rent roll, for anyone interested in buying a rent roll, what would be the main things to look for if it's like a good acquisition or a good rent roll to buy? What would be those main things to look out for?
Probably one that we have purchased that was a good story was a lot of the rents were really low on the properties. So that gave us so much potential to actually increase those rents.
Mm,
And when I say low, like some of these properties were like 250 a week,
wow.
which you don't get.
Yeah, in
um,
Melbourne.
yeah. And a lot of these owners just didn't really seem to care. But when you kind of said to them, well, hang on, you're going to pay for this and this now, you're losing value, also trying to increase the rent, even if we did a little bit by bit. So you're not so far behind because you never know in the future, they might turn around and say, you can't increase by this amount now. At least you're kind of at that state of what the market is.
Yeah.
But for us, that was a lot of growth, and we were able to provide value to our clients while also making money at this as well.
At the same time, yeah. And they would have 100% seen the value, and I'm sure would have told other people that, hey, we've got this new company that we've gone through acquired, and now they've been able to show value and they're getting more value. And especially because we know how challenging the Victorian market has been, for sure. So would you do anything differently, do you think, when it came to the acquisitions?
Um, Possibly. I think it would be more, I mean, you're always going to lose some in the process as well. Some people, they might have dealt with you before, or just a whole range of things that could have happened. I think just being careful of the company you are purchasing from, just because I know we had purchased from one and she was fantastic. She was a fantastic property manager, but she's probably a little bit too involved in the properties. So they had extremely high expectations on their management, like very, very extreme.
Yeah.
Which then made it hard for us to crack into that, which I even had owners say to me, oh, you've got hard shoes to fill, which is obviously hard to crack into that.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. So would you like interview the team members as well? Like if you're acquiring the staff too?
Yeah, depending on the portfolio, we did purchase one that I think was about 300 or 400 properties. We did hire 2 staff members from there. One is actually still with us. She's been with us for 2 years. So yeah.
Yeah, that's great. So Kelley, earlier you mentioned that you've noticed a difference in yourself from doing the RISE program. And I've definitely seen that as well, and even just speaking to you today. But I want to dive deep into like your personal growth and your motivation. So how have you personally grown through your journey from the version of you that started, 5 years ago to where you are now?
Yeah, I think 5 years ago, like I was very young at that point. So it was just very stepping into it. I was very excited. And I think everyone goes through phases of not being motivated, whether you're, in property management or you're a sales agent or you are a property manager. Every single person goes through these phases. And I definitely have. In terms of trying to bring myself out of it, I think you just got to keep pushing forward and keep working for what you want. Not every day is going to be a great day. And I'm sure you have that as well, Sarah. Having a baby and everything as well is pretty hard.
Yep.
Yeah, just I don't know the difference now. And I think doing that training really helped me, and speaking with other BDMs as well, because I've never had like BDMs to talk to. Before we were in part of a corporate company, but for some reason everyone was extremely disconnected. In my head, it would make more sense to be connected and give referrals to everyone, and it's all under the same brand. But fortunately, that wasn't really the go. So now it's really great that I've spoken with a few BDMs, and I've spoken to a few that are on the other side of town, given them referrals and so forth. So
yeah.
Yeah.
And not just that, like you're part of the CEO table now. So you're again like putting yourself out there and connecting with other business owners, because as much as you're doing the BDM stuff, you are a business owner and you've got a business to run. So how has that helped you now with this new version of you and staying motivated and connected?
I think it makes me feel a bit more mature, because obviously I am quite young. So meeting different people that have a lot more experience than I do and listening to these conversations is kind of not the same conversation when I was, 22, 23, and it's the same old thing. But having these kind of more adult conversations, I find like I'm learning more from it. And even within our own team, I was speaking with one of our sales agents from one of the other offices, and she made a really good point about something. And I was like, wow, like I never thought about it like that. So now I've implemented that to our office. I just think listening to more people, podcasts as well, obviously RISE, listening to different people's opinions and people that have experienced these things. I just find I learn a lot more from it.
Yeah, I love that. And I think it's important. They always say your network is your net worth. So it's like, who are you hanging around with? Who are you listening to? Who are you talking to? What are you reading? Like, what are you watching at night? Like, all of these things have an impact and influence how we show up on a daily basis. So on that, Kelley, what helps you stay motivated now? Because I know that you're networking and you've rebranded and you've stepped into this new version of Kelley. So what helps you stay motivated now?
I don't know if it's bad to say this, but I'd probably say money.
There's nothing wrong with saying that.
My motivation, I guess, is to build that life that I want. So, the more that I put into this, the more money I'm going to get out of it eventually. And, hopefully I get to retire mid-30s. I mean, it's a dream, but
Hey, dream big, dream big.
I think, yeah, that's definitely a motivator for me.
Yeah. And what about when things get tough? So like looking at, growth wise, because it can come in ebbs and flows. What will that still be your motivator through those ebbs and flows, or would that look a bit different?
Yeah, I think because I see it differently now from a business point of view. So, if we lose properties for sale or owners moving in, I'm like, obviously I can't stop those things, but, for sale, especially now that we have a bigger team, it's let's try and put these referrals to our team so that the company is making money, and that our team are making the money as well. It's, yeah, I think in terms of the motivation in that sense, it's a little bit more money minded now in comparison to when I first started. Yeah. And even then, I think for now I'm in that growth sector where I want to make a name for myself, and I want to be more out there and meeting people. And while it is scary to go up to people and talk to them, honestly, I feel like I've learned so much just from the people I have met so far.
Yeah, that's phenomenal. And you've got your support system. What about like routines and habits like outside of work? Because you said, you like spending time with your friends and family. What going forward is going to help you with like your mindset and your energy so that you don't get stagnant or like lose that motivation because you've got a big responsibility on you now, right?
Yeah, I haven't got that down pat, I'll be honest,
I love the
in terms
honesty.
of my routine. Trying to do more walks or gym and stuff like that as well. Even just eating well is, sometimes during the day I'll forget that I actually haven't eaten. So having that meal prep helps me a lot in the office. Just being a little bit more structured as well. I've turned off email notifications on my phone so that when it's after hours, I'm not getting that. Otherwise, I'd sit there and I'd be like, oh. And like when you can't see an email you don't like and you get angry at it and it just affects your mindset.
For sure.
So I've turned that off, doing things like that so that I can have my time in my own personal time to do things that I like to do.
Yeah, I so resonate with that. Bit of like a story time for our conversation. So, my tenants just vacated this morning, and I went and met the agent at the final, and I got there a little bit early, and the agent called me. She's like, "Oh, I'm just in traffic. I'll be a bit late." So I like rocked up, and there was hard rubbish like all on my nature strip, and I was like already freaking out because I'm like, if this is what the outside looks like, what am I going to be walking into the inside? And I should know better than this, but I already was in like a stress response in my body. And so when she rocked up, I wasn't present with her. And this is the first time I'd met like my property manager, who took over like a few months ago from someone that had left the industry. But I was like, poor lady, like we've spoken that many times and I'm meeting her for the first time. And I was already in that stress response. And I was like, this is when I should have just like paused for a second, focus on my breath, which I already know all of these things. So then I could have like fully been present in that moment. So I actually emailed her and said, like, I'm so sorry for today, for this morning, because I was stressed. And like, then I just think of so many times during our day, we can get into these situations. And if we're not creating that time outside of work to like I guess work on our mindset and our energy, then how are we going to incorporate it into those situations where we're in front of one of our clients, like a landlord or a tenant, right? So I think it's like love that you were so honest, Kelley, and like now I'm being honest because like I know better as well, and I was just not there this morning, but how important it is to work on ourselves because it definitely can have an impact on the people around us. Would you agree?
I think not even in this industry, in any job that anyone is in, and it's very easy to burn out, and I've burnt myself out multiple times. But I think from there, I've learned something every single time that I'll change in my life and try not to overwork.
Yeah, for sure. Because I guess no one wants to be burnt out. So it's like, how do we get on the forefront of that to not get burnt out? So it's creating that time. And for you, Kelley, it's putting your lunch break in your calendar so you eat. We laugh about it, but like we don't want you to pass out or something at work either, right? But yeah, it's like holding ourselves accountable because it's our life and we've got choices every single day that we can control. Yeah. Real talk and some reflection time. What's one of the hardest lessons you've had to learn in business so far?
Not all business is good business.
Great. What's one thing you wish more people in the property management industry understood about growth?
Ooh. I mean, depending on their role, I'd probably say more from a junior kind of way is that you really have to work for it. Nothing's just going to be given to you.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. And starting from zero stage, what's your message to anyone who's starting from zero?
Just keep going. I know it's
Yeah.
hard, and whether you are in property management or sales, just keep going and reach out to more people. There are so many people on Instagram and Facebook that are in the industry that are very inspiring to read about and to watch their posts, and it will give you a better insight to how the industry is as well. I think don't just be closed off to your one agency, because there's so many people in the industry as well to connect with.
I love that. Connect. Yes. Like have some conversations, reach out to someone that you've been following that you've never spoken to before and get on the phone, and
Yeah.
have a chat to them. I remember that was one of the first things that I did as a BDM. I looked up to another BDM at another Ray White office and I called her and I'm like, I want to know what you're doing. Right. And she was someone that I looked up to. And then 3 years later, I won the BDM of the Year award with her. And it was one of the best moments of my life going from looking up to someone that was in the same industry. But had have I not made that call, I may not have connected with her the way that we had connected with her. And finally, what's next for Kelley and your business and what's lighting you up right now?
Oh. Next is to get to 2,000 properties for sure, with overall, with all because we do have quite a few directors in part of our business. Yeah, I think that's kind of to be confirmed at this stage because we have just taken over.
Yeah.
But I'm excited to see how it goes, and all of our directors and our staff have been great to get to know so far. So I'm excited for us to grow as a much bigger team.
Yeah. And one thing that's lighting you up right now.
Is what, sorry?
One thing that's lighting you up right now.
That I have a couple of holidays booked for this year.
Amazing. Where are you going?
I'm going to Port Douglas because my brother's getting married. And then I'll be going to Perth because I have a friend getting married, and then Thailand at the end of the year.
Phenomenal. Everyone needs a break and a
Yeah.
holiday. So if that's not motivation enough for you, Kelley, to work hard, enjoy your holidays.
Yeah.
But I just really want to thank you for joining me today. As part of the program, I always say to the risers, like, join if you want to join, and you were one of them that put your hand up. So I applaud you for, taking the courage to join me today and sharing your story and what you're passionate about. I think it's really amazing to see someone, at your age as well, doing what you're doing in this space and really getting out of your comfort zone now and watching that. I get like all the feels watching you do that. So I've got no doubt in another few months that you're going to keep evolving and there'll be more versions of you, Kelley. So I just want to say well done, and I'm really, really proud of you. And I'm sure anyone who wants to connect, I'll pop your details in the links so that they can connect with you. And definitely Kelley is very warm and welcoming. So reach out. But I just want to say thank you again, Kelley, for joining and sharing your insights to our BDM audience today.
No, thank you so much for having me. It's been a great experience. It's something I thought I'd never do.
Oh, yay. And here you are.
Yeah.
And as always, for anyone watching or listening, thank you so much for tuning in today. And we hope that you continue to rise.